Okay, we're back for session number 2. Now, I mentioned last time I would explain kind of early game strategy here. The first thing we're going to do is assign some research. Now, ordinarily, this would be what you'd roll with. You'd roll with resistance communications. But we're going to do two things before that. First, we're going to activate a Shiv unit, and then after this is activated, we will activate another one.
I do find that area of research to be among the more intriguing options available. We'll begin work immediately. I'll send word when a complete report is available.
So one thing I notice about this that is different from TedJam is that in TedJam you start out with a frost droid, and they have taken that away. You do not have a frost droid, so we will be able to activate the shivs, but we won't have a frost droid. Let's look at the trees for our promoted people.
We may have chosen a different means of resistance, but our people fight for the same reason, for the world we once knew. Together we will end this occupation, or die trying.
Ooh, Needle Arsenal. That is one of the best perks for a Grenadier. And honestly, with 66 aim at squatty level, that's probably what you're going to be. Reaper can set proximity traps using offensive grenades. Thousands to go, Implacable, Needle Arsenal, Scrounger. Oh, Scrounger's one of my favorites. That's just extra loot. Every mission this soldier goes on, that's just extra loot. Oh, Blood Trail's down here. Okay, well, let me look at the tree then, because that makes me think some stuff might be different. Once per turn, gain an additional action after taking a standard shot at an enemy. Oh, okay, so throw a grenade, inflict bleeding, maybe other status effects, but at least bleeding. Shoot at the enemy, throw another grenade if you want, or take another shot. These choices at the end are going to be kind of, well, that actually does not seem tricky. That seems like an obvious take if we're going to go the grenade route. I think we have to go the grenade route, right? Like, she's got above average mobility. Or no, well, 15. I think 15 is average. Oh, whoops. Misclick. Whatever. So we have average mobility. We have below average aim, average health, significantly above average will. That's clearly where where she is strongest. Yeah, I don't know which of these, like, probably we're taking True Predator here. Like, I really wish if this was +3 damage in general. Yeah, I don't. You're not going to be using Shadow to take a vector rifle shot on an enemy. You're going to be using Shadow to get in position to throw grenades and just to scout. Part of me also wonders if this would be worth taking. Like, there is still an advantage to using knives, even if you're a Grenadier, and the advantage is that using a knife throw, that doesn't reveal you. So on your first turn of Shadow, you can flank an enemy and use a knife, and then you're still in Shadow for the next turn, and you can do what you want from there. I think these are clearly the perks to take for this character, for this particular build. Needle Arsenal is an absolute, just seems like an absolute must. It removes one of the main disadvantages of using grenades. This is going to be the difficult choice. I guess I can see that if you took Death Dealer and First Strike, you'd be dealing a lot of damage potentially. But I just don't think Joanna is going to be shooting a whole lot from Shadow with this aim stat. Ten aim though. 10 aim from Shadow. Because this is also would be a reason not to take Banish, right? Like Banish would be my go-to for most Reapers, because you can fire at a target until you run out of ammo or it dies. If you have an Elite Expanded Magazine on your weapon, that's 6 shots. But the whole each shot has 20 aim less and 1 damage less than the previous one is a bit of an issue when you have this kind of aim. So there's a question here of whether that is worth taking when we could take Death Dealer. But here's the other side of that. We're not going to take Silent Killer. We're definitely going to take Salt in the Wound, because that's just +1 damage to all bleeding enemies and whatnot. I don't know. Having Crippling Strike could be nice against certain enemies. I'm thinking specifically Berserkers and their variants as a way to just neutralize those enemies for a single turn. Like, because it's just maim, but it's with the knives. But being able to go into Shadow and get the +3 mobility whenever we go into Shadow is also really nice. So I don't know. That's a tough choice. We'll come back to Joanna at some point in the future and figure that out. Now, Jane Kelly. Now, I have obviously played with Jane Kelly in previous campaigns because she's a Mod Jam character. The issue here is that Jane Kelly has had her skill tree changed significantly from the Mod Jam skill tree. And it looks like some of the Xcom row abilities that she can get are also different. I did not know you could learn Marauder. You have 67 aim, which is basically average after at squatty level. Maybe, if anything, it's either at average or slightly below. Good mobility. Again, above average will, average health. You have Sling Blade. That's interesting. Concentration's a very good skill for a melee character, because Lightning Slash can chain into a lot of very useful combos. If we're gonna use her for melee, Shadow Step is an auto pickup in Mod Jam and in Requiem. There are a lot of enemies that have close combat specialist or equivalent. Yeah, the Lightning Slash Close Encounters is a really, really versatile combo. Looks like there's so many options. There's so many options for Jane Kelly here. Media Lantern Concealment. Yeah, I remember that skill. That's an interesting skill for Jane Kelly to have. Zone of Control. Detonation Shot. Do you have Untouchable anywhere? The skill tree used to have Untouchable, but I don't see it anywhere here. Immediately enter Concealment. Free action. 4-turn cool. So this is just Blend, but in perpetuity? Huh. I wish if that was cheaper, I would definitely take it, but 35 ability points is a little bit too expensive. Yeah, Sling Blade is really good for combos, but competes with Disabling Shot. That's kind of rough. Shredder competes with Keen Edge. Shredder is just... Man, having Shredder at Corporal would be so good, though. You could have that ability by the time mechs show up, and then you would have an alternative to just having to mass-produce armor-piercing rounds. This is tough. This is a very difficult, and then Marauder... This is kind of weird. Marauder at Lance Corporal... I mean, you could just... I guess the idea here is that you could go with a shooty build with that. I don't think I want to do that. Boy, I don't know. I don't know how I want to build Jane Kelly, because this is such a random scattering of XCOM row abilities as well. There's a part of me that thinks it might just be best to take a couple of pistol perks and Zone of Control and just go, you know, with a dominantly melee build that focuses on getting up close and personal with the enemy. I have had a lot of success in the past with Sidewinder, even though it's a very, like, it reads like it's a very niche perk, but it's basically a more powerful version of Battlefield Awareness or Untouchable, because it doesn't just make the attack miss, you get to move, but it's a once every 3 turn thing. So unlike Untouchable, which you can have every single turn that you kill an enemy, this does not require you to kill an enemy. It's just always active, you know, but it has a 3 turn, you know, it has a cooldown such that you're not going to be relying on this ability to stay out of trouble all the time. But this is, when I've taken this on characters, it always saves them in a very precarious situation, because you can use it strategically to bait out attacks from enemies that would ordinarily do a lot of damage, and then reposition into like where you're not flanked anymore. There's also the blend Shadow Strike Conceal Phantom shotgun wedding thing. There's also that. That's very gimmicky. So that would be taking these perks for sure. 5 turn cooldown. We might also, if we went that route, we'd probably also take Trench Gun and Lightfoot. It's going to really limit our option. Man, but that build takes forever to come online. Like, that build is not getting online until at earliest Staff Sergeant, when we might take Shadow Strike early. I don't know about that. I don't know if we're waiting that long to get Jane Kelly operational. Because up until that point, she's basically just going to be a glorified scout. Let's hold off on making any decisions on Jane Kelly. And also, let's change your weapon configuration, because this is the generic color scheme and I don't like it. Give you something that looks a little better. Okay, so Jane Kelly is just a TBD. Frost Necromancer. Winter Vanguard Armor. +1 ablative health, lowers chance to be critical hit. Okay, I kind of like that. Hollow targeting, call for fire. Dervish. Wait. that seems like something that doesn't seem like that should be a thing. You have Dervish in 2 places in the tree. Freezing round in a line, dealing cold damage, inflicting bitter frost. Ignores cover. Okay. Ooh, Mind Merge, that's a great skill. You also have high combat intelligence, so you'll have 49 ability points to use. This is an interesting skill for you to have. That is a turn-ending action. I feel like honestly just Mind Merge Fortress and maybe this, just so you're a little bit more durable. That would be 55. Hollow targeting wouldn't be bad. I get there is a weird There is a weird, like, synergy here with these two, right? We could take Marauder and use... But then we'd have to give up either Brain Freeze, which makes the Frost moves more potent, or we would have to give up a healing ability, which, honestly, I really like this. It's only got 2 charges, but it can heal for a lot, especially in the late game, because it's based on Psi offense, and it's not a turn-ending action. 1 action, not turn-ending. It would be a good early game pickup, because our healing options are going to be pretty limited early on. Wait, what the hell? You have mind merge here and here. This is so weird. Is that intentional? Is he supposed to have... See, that makes me want to just... That makes me want to take the holo targeting and Marauder combo. So that to could preserve, because we could take mind merge here. That is so bizarre. This would also make him a lot more effective against robots, though. Because instead, if he can't, if he can't use his psi abilities, he could just holo target him for the other people in the party. Jacked Frost Zombies. Quality of Spectral Frost. Oh, that's a must. That's a must. Definitely doing that. Consume chill effects to deal fire damage. I've always found that to be very weird. Think for a minute about what you would have to do to get this to work, right? You would have to, like, I guess you do have Frigid Whisper, so you could use that and then use Boil, but the idea of, like, freezing an enemy in order to set up a fire attack, it just seems weird to me. Apparition, Solace Aura. That's pretty good. See, this is the big one. The game changer here of all the abilities on this list is Mass Reanimate. Mass Reanimate allows you to make certain missions a borderline joke by resurrecting a massive number of corpses as zombies all at once and overwhelming the enemy. Like, this is an ability that changes the way you can play certain mission types like HQs or supply raids with large number of enemies, because you can basically assemble a zombie horde of 6 to 10 zombies of Advent units and then just send them in as bullet shields, right? Some of them will survive and get attacks, but you're not really using them for that, right? You're not using them to do damage. You're using them as meat shields while the rest of your units just attack unscathed. We'll see here. I don't the only thing I don't like about Solace Aura, like, Solace Aura is cool, but most of the characters that I don't want mind controlled late in the game are gonna be... This is a gunnery sergeant ability. By that point, most of the characters that I don't want to get mind controlled will have mind shields, or they will have a genetic implant called neural dampening that prevents them from suffering from mental status ailments, including mind control. So most likely we're going to go with Apparition by that point, because this will just mean that this guy can go through walls, he can teleport, and he will gain... Fade is a concealment that's broken whenever you move, so a good little kind of, oh, I'm in trouble, let me just conceal myself for the moment. I am inclined to take Dervish simply because it will make me able to use my other abilities, like my zombie abilities and Mind Merge, more often. Soul Mania is basically a failsafe against melee attacks. Like, I think he has melee vulnerability, just like most sectoids do. But here's the thing. The sectoid should never be on the front lines. And if he was on the front lines, this is probably, like, not doing enough damage to enemies to save him. It can't miss, but it also doesn't ever target mechs and is a situational move. I would much rather have Mind Merge and be able to help out other units, give them extra crit chance and will and ablative HP. Uses a mental attack, but mental attack roll, mental immunity doesn't protect against it. I remember this being useful against robots in the past when I've had the Frost Necromancer. So I think based on what we've kind of deduced here, this is pretty much an auto pick. That's just gonna be really good. I mean, it does say, doesn't protect against Requiem Corrosion, Radiation, Illyrium Poison, or explosives that do magnetic or beam damage. That's fair enough. But Fire, Poison, Acid, Frost, and Explosive damage are way more common than those other damage types. So we'll take that. That's 25 of our points. And then, honestly, we might be just taking these. We might call it a day there. Because I don't think we need to waste 20 points on Mind Merge if it's right here. And this opens us up. This does mean giving up a healing ability, which I am hesitant to do. But being able to hollow target twice on a turn, potentially, especially if we go up against mechs, this will just make him so much more useful in those kinds of combat engagements. This also opens up the possibility of doing things like shooting a hollow targeting shot and then using an ability like Slip Rain or Soul Frost, right, or whatever, on the same enemy or on a different enemy. There's a lot of combos here that I like. The key abilities, though, getting Jack Frost zombies so we can summon zombies more often, and getting Mass Reanimate. Those are really the things that are going to make the character. Okay, now this is a dude I have never had a Raptor Commando in my squad, so I don't know what to expect from him. Let's take a look at the trees. Why in the world do you have Mind Merge? And you have Corposano, and you have Raptor Soul Strike. That just sounds like Soulfire. Long Watch, Deadeye, Damn Good Girl. So this is the Sniper. Yeah, Sniper Tree, Death from Above, Bullseye. Smoke and Mirrors, Opportunist. Reaction Fire ignores half cover bonuses. Blurred seems like a good... Oh, Butcher. Butcher and Center Mass? Delayed... Wait, what? Delayed Blast Fireball. What the hell? Attach a fireball to an enemy, setting them on fire. Fireball will explode. Is this an AoE attack? This just sounds like Homing Mine. Yeah, shots against the mind target. That's kind of a giveaway. So that's just a variation of Homing Mine. That sounds really good, but is probably not worth 30 ability points. The reason why the Butcher Center Mass stood out to me here is that that's a lot of extra damage potentially against organic targets. Phase Drone grants one deployable phase drone that gets stronger with secondary weapon tier. Stacks with other sources of deployable phase drone? What? You have a summoning ability? Mark for Death as a gunnery sergeant skill? That is an ability that, to my knowledge, you can only get from the Chosen Hunter's weapon. I've never seen that on a character. How in the world would you not take that? Yeah, I don't see, especially... What is it competing against? No, that's terrible. That's not a good skill at all. 4 tiles? 10 aim and 10 critical. I guess if you had a sniper squad and he was next to 2 other snipers or something. So ready for anything. So this is an Overwatch sniper build. It's interesting that you have Opportunist and Covering Fire. So that doesn't... The Opportunist sniper build doesn't seem terrible. but I don't use my snipers that way. And I don't like using... I do not like Long Watch as an ability. Now, you might ask why. It doesn't sound that bad. The reason I don't like Long Watch is that on missions where you are scouting, if you have a character that's on Overwatch and it's a Long Watch Overwatch, and you're scouting with somebody and like a squad kind of moves in the line of vision of your scout, if the sniper has line of sight as well, he will take the shot. And that activates that group of enemies. That's very, very bad. And that means that, like, I'm always paranoid about using Long Watch because I'm always worried something like that's going to happen. So I think it really feels to me like with this, I mean, we have to take that skill. There are ways to set it up to where this skill can just single-handedly annihilate anything, as long as you have the auto loaders or the expanded mag to continue to take shots. So that seems really good. I am honestly very tempted to do the phase drone summon. Like, that also seems really good. I mean, you'd be giving up rapid fire, but like, if you can shoot an infinite number of times on the same target, who cares? The other factor here is rapid fire can't be used from squad sight, and I've run into this problem. I learned that the hard way before that was in the description, and that was super depressing. I had a sniper, death from above sniper, that had rapid fire in this slot, and I invested a lot of ability points to get it, and then I could never use it. There were almost never situations where I could use it. So I think we're going to be looking at something like this, which looks very weird. Like, it looks weird not to take death from above, but being able to deploy 2 phase drones per mission, I mean, this character feels broken to me. Like, just looking at this at face value. Oh, there's also a part of me that wonders about nimble hands with with Mark for Death, but probably I don't think that's worth 25 ability points though, because you can only use it once every 3 turns. None of these... Blurred doesn't matter if you're at squad sight distance. The one issue here, with not taking... Oh, you know what? What am I talking about? Don't take the phase drone stuff. Take death from above and take sniper elite, because with death from above, we're getting... Yeah, reducing, that's the key. You got to have that reduction if you're going to be a true sniper. Attacks will ignore all dodge modifiers. Not the Graze Band. Aim bonus is not affected. That combined with the other stuff we have up here would mean you would be just lethal. And then the damage buffs... Don't die, dude. Oh yeah, you have sustain, so yeah, don't die. Because I have plans. I have plans for you. Okay. Now we gotta look at our rookies and see what they have. Oh, I should make a note here. So I upgraded the choose your class mod to give me 4 choices instead of the default 3. The reason I did that is because there are so many more classes than the standard 8 that you have in Long War now, that I just think 3 choices is not enough to give you a reasonable amount of autonomy. So shooty class, 66 aims not gelling with those all that well. I don't know what the electrician is. Arc thrower. This is a class I've never used. This is a class I would either like high mobility or high aim for the hunter class, and you have neither. We might be going electrician with you. Let's look at our other choices. Jill. Assault Dragoon. What's your hack? Hack is 2. You're not going to be a Dragoon. You're not going to be a gunner with 61 aim. You're not going to be a ranger with 61 aim. So, yeah, you have 5 health. Okay, this is an easy one. We're just doing assault. It's the only suitable class there. Paramedic. Okay. All right. I like paramedic on an assault, and you have meld. This is kind of cruel. You have Shadow Strike and meld, but that's 65 and Lightfoot. You have all these stealth skills, and they're super expensive, and you're only going to have 42 ability points. That is depressing. Yeah, I don't know what we're doing down here with those. Because you don't have... What you really need is Phantom to pull this off. Because you would... If you're going to do a Shadow Strike Street Sweeper build, you have to be able to get... I guess we could pair you up with somebody who could put you into stealth consistently, and we could just say, screw like the other perks, we're just going to take Shadow Strike. I don't know. That I don't like making gimmicky builds. And a Shadow Strike Street Sweeper build, like, it is hard to set that up to where it works. You don't have any Overwatch perks. I do really like paramedic on an assault, because this is going to sound weird, but you can use paramedic to set up combos, because paramedic can be used on a dash. Yeah, only one action regardless of distance moved. So if you have a soldier that's like a dash move away, but they're wounded and they're near an enemy that you could flank, you can paramedic heal them, and then you can... It's basically like a free run and gun, right? You can then use your second action to take the shot you were going to take. So that's very handy in certain situations, not to mention just giving you a healing ability, right? Just extra healing on missions. I just wish we had better choices down here, because that's 10. That leaves us with 30. What are we spending the remaining points on? What are we doing with that? Like, are we taking Electroshock and Overkill, maybe? I don't know if that's worth it or not. I don't really know. I'm also not sure what we take here. Steadfast is really, really good in the early game because you can't be mind controlled. But later on, there are other ways to get the equivalent of this. And Stun Gunner is really good. Even on a character that doesn't take any other stun gunny perks, this is really good. Because when you need to stun an enemy, you do not want to miss. And being able to hit those stuns, and with 63 aim, she'll have a chance of missing a lot of her stuns. That's still very strong. This could be a way to compensate for that. I don't know. Slugshot has been revamped and buffed many times, but I still have... I hesitate to take it on a character that's going to be trying to get up close and personal all the time. Probably... Well, we do have Dedication, but Lightning Reflexes is just way better than Dedication, because it clears Overwatches. It doesn't just avoid reaction fire. Interesting that they paired up Killer Instinct with... This is going to be a tough set of choices. I'm not... We're going to have to come back to Jill later to figure that out. Alright, so Sylvia probably going to be an electrician. Drake, what did you wind up as? 57 aim. Sorry, Drake. Ranger's not in the cards. Sharpshooter, 57 aim. He does have 35... but that's... So he's going to have very high combat intelligence. Stormtrooper is possible. Ranger 57 aim really isn't. You have bonded with Orin, which is very interesting. Orin, we have Storm Rider, Akimbo, Juggernaut, Scrapper. You're not going to be... Yeah, I'm not going to do an Akimbo with that aim stat. You have 7 psionic. So that's going to be probably very low combat intelligence, which is unfortunate. Storm Riders are hard to get, in my experience. They don't... It used to be the only way you could get these guys was by training up rookies. I don't know if that is still the same. I'm also not sure I want just a pure melee character at this stage of the game. Like, Juggernaut is not a bad choice. But if I give him the melee ability, his low aim stat is going to be largely irrelevant. And with Juggernauts, I do like them to be able to hit some things some of the time because they wield a heavy weapon and they can learn some very useful shooting skills in addition to their other perks. I think we're going to go Storm Rider. That's also, if you know who this character is based on, that's the canonically, like, most sensible thing. Burial Blade. Interesting. Reaper would be better, I suppose. So I remember playing with a modified, like, the version of this that it has become, and they've changed it pretty significantly. It used to be some of these skills, like Enrage, for example, were way earlier in the skill tree. Now it's a little bit more balanced. I actually really like the middle row build because I actually would probably take this over Sixth Sense, but the idea behind it is, you know, you set up this massive Overwatch trap using Route. Now the problem here is Route has a 5-turn cooldown and can, you know, requires significant setup to do. But if you have all the perks, right? If you have Shadow Step, if you have Covering Fire, and especially when you get to Master Sergeant, have Grim Reaper Sprint, you're going to be doing massive damage to lots and lots of enemies at the very beginning of engagements using this stuff. Here's the problem. Your build with Overwatch is not coming online with this character until Gunnery Sergeant. That is, like, it's going to be very dangerous for most of the game to try to build around using your one-time intercept Overwatch with Covering Fire before you have Shadow Step even. So really, this character is neutered, in my opinion, until you get at least to Tech Sergeant. That is a long time to wait for that character to come online fully. Whereas if you take some of the other abilities, like in the top row of the tree, you're going to be at least damaging fairly early in the game. You'll be able to do some significant damage pretty early in the game. The bigger issue here is with the very low combat intelligence, we're only going to get 28 ability points. Burial Blade is really good. Reaper is probably better, but requires a lot of setup. It does have only a 3-turn cooldown. I think Burial Blade has a 4. Of course, with if we take Dervish, which I probably am, then Burial Blade's cooldown when we activate it is 4 turns, and then immediately after we use it, it'll be 3. So this might be a better investment than I'm giving it credit for. The issue with Reaper is that the only time it's really super useful is when you have a lot of low HP enemies that you want to take out. Now, the other issue is that Shadow Step is going to compete with Gore, and that's a bit of a problem. And we don't have anything like Dedication down here to give additional ways of getting past reaction fire. So there are some problems with this that we would have to overcome. If we're doing the top row, we're definitely going that way. We would take Cutthroat. We would definitely... This is also, in my opinion, a tough choice. This one's mine is really good. And that would be, in some ways, some insurance against reaction fire attacks. But Conduit is also incredibly good. Even on a character that isn't... Because Conduit allows you, once you get a bondmate, you can just teleport to your bondmate instantly. I think it says that in the advanced description. More effective when used to teleport to a bondmate. Teleporting to a bondmate doesn't require line of sight, and at bond level 3 grants them a protective shield for ablative for 2 turns. So Conduit is really strong even on characters that are spec'd primarily for the top row. Because as good as this one's mine is, and as good as that extra crit chance is, being able to teleport around, this is especially good for getting out of trouble when you melee an enemy that's really far across the map and there's no good cover to take after you do so. It's going to be really hard not to pick that up. I have to say, though, that I feel like this character has been nerfed so much that this may not have been the right choice for the class to pick. I feel like the Juggernaut pick would have been stronger, because it just feels to me like we're going to be waiting. Like how much damage is he going to be able to do early on? If we give him a traditional sword, he'll be able to hit his attacks consistently, but this just doesn't feel strong to me at all until we get Tech Sergeant or better. I think if we're taking Burial Blade, yeah, Gore would be a must. I've never really been able to figure out how good Gore is, because the calculation for the panic chance is so complicated. Like, it's 8%. So it's the rank of the character multiplied by 8% plus the damage you do times 2% plus the maximum HP times 1%, subtracting the enemy willpower. Like, who's calculating that in their head on the fly during combat? Like, nobody's doing that. Basically, you just take Gore if sometimes you want to get random panics on enemies that see you kill another enemy. I don't know whether we'll take that or not. Shadow Step would be really good as just a way to guarantee we could get to targets that we needed to melee and kill. Okay, anyway, so we took that on Orin. We need to figure out what we're doing with you, Drake. We are not doing a Ranger. We're not doing a Sharpshooter. So the question is, do we want a Scout? Or do we want... He has 15 mobility, 4 HP, 7 dodge. Generally, I like my Stormtroopers to have more mobility than this and higher aim. Like, his aim is very bad, right? At 57 aim, yes, he's going to be able to hit and run on characters, but he's going to be missing a lot of shots, especially with the Bullpup. I think let's do Recon. Let's just see what we get for the XCOM row. Lethal, which we are not going to take. Ooh, Unnerving Light is really good. That's a good pickup. 1 free battle scanner. I don't know if that's worth 10 ability points. Scrounger's really good. So that's 2 good skills down here. Close combat. Thousands to go. But you're probably not going to be shooting a whole lot on our little adventure here. So probably that's 25. You're going to have very high combat intelligence. So you'll have 31 additional ability points. So we could take thousands to go after we pick these 2 up. And then when he needs to kill enemies, he would actually be able to, you know, I guess do it. But I just 63 aim and using probably using an SMG most of the time for scouting purposes. I just don't think that's happening. Oh, your skill tree is different. Hold on, I need to look at this. Your skill, some of the skills are the same, but some of them have been changed. What did this used to be? Has this always been Lightfoot? I mean, that's what we're gonna take. And if you're scouting, yeah, we probably want conceal. And then it's a tough call here between scouting report and airstrike, but I would probably take scouting report. Scouting report allows you, once you accumulate 5 intelligence, which you just gather every turn, you can, for a free action, restore a character to get 2 action points back. It's very strong. Airstrike is very fun to use because it's like a miniature bunker buster. I don't think it has quite the radius of that ability, but it can be used anywhere that your squad has vision. So it's very like situationally strong, but it's not something I would typically build around. It used to be, though, that whatever this ability was, like scouting report did not used to be in the recon's tree to my recollection. So that's an addition. This, however, is going to be great because this is going to set us up for mind controls and other things later on in the game. So this combined with multi-targeting will be great. I'm just not sure what else, because we could give him thousands to go. We could also just dive into some pistol perks here. Could take Magnum, Quick Draw, Lightning Hands, Clutch Shot. We could basically just give him, just say, you're going to have a ballistic SMG the entire game, but if you have to fight, you'll be using pistols. We'll see how that goes. And Sylvia, I'm going to go ahead and take the electrician because these other classes just don't seem good, and I don't know what, like, Hunter would be the next best. Like, 66 aim on a ranger is workable, but I really want a ranger to have 70, 71 aim, something like that. I have no idea what the electrician needs for aim, so let's just see what we've got here. Okay, so another arc thrower class. Okay, well, there's an aim bonus to attacks against mechanical enemies. This looks like, yeah, a whole bunch of suppression skills. Dang, that is a huge penalty. Armor piercing shot. When you say armor piercing shot, reduces hack defensive robots by 20? Okay, well, we gotta pair you up with one of the disadvantages of our current squad that you may have noticed. We have no hacker. I did notice that Jane Kelly has like a decent hack chance, but we don't have any designated hacker. We don't have any agents. We don't have any. Drake also has decent hack because we made him a recon. That might have been another good reason to make him a recon. Dang it, go back. I hadn't finished looking at my electrician yet. I like Maim. I like Formidable. I like Saturate. I like a lot of these skills. The fact that you have rapid reaction... Oh, you have lockdown. Ooh. That's 25 bonus damage. 20 chance to hit. Why does that have to compete with power down? I was just looking at it and sounded really cool. Electrical Surge and Electrical Storm. Apply a massive debuff to robotic enemies. it is a testament, I will say, to the people who design these classes and rebalance them that the choices feel so difficult, that they do not feel obvious to me. A non-turn ending armor-piercing shot that disables shields and reduces hack defensive robots by 20. So essentially, if I go the top row, we're speccing you out to just be an anti-mech machine, which isn't the worst thing, because late in the game, mechs are very, very dangerous. This is really tough because there's a suppression build here that seems very strong with lockdown and then all the other stuff. That just seems very, very hard to turn away from here. Even with the only issue is I would have to give up power down. How does this work? Reaction fire ignores half the cover bonus. Overwatch shots now ignore 2/3 of cover bonuses. How that's so 2/3 would be like 66.6%, and then half is 50%. That cannot mean it's ignoring 116% of the cover bonus, right? Does this mean, like, is one of these applied first? Like, Opportunist is applied first, we're ignoring 50% of the cover bonus, and then of the remaining 50%, we're also ignoring another 2/3? How do these interact? That's a mystery I'm not invested in solving, but it is odd. Ranged attacks gain 2. These last perks seem weird. It really feels to me like the suppression build is just... Oh, but I just realized you don't have area suppression. It is just regular suppression. It was feeling so beautiful, and now I don't know about that. Yeah. Now I want to take this stuff. I do like the ability to disorient the primary target with suppression, even if we're not taking this other stuff. Because disorientation in the late game is a fairly powerful status effect against certain enemies. There are other ways to deal with the reloading stuff. Like Nimble Hands, to me, is not a particularly good skill. So this is interesting. You can disorient the target, and then you can get... Oh yeah, that's another thing I just realized. There's no cool under pressure. You can't get critical hits on suppress. Man, we just need more on the... Need more in the skill tree down here. Maybe we go for saturation fire instead. I do like Formidable and Maim, though. Especially Maim's going to go really well with Fracture. Maybe we still take Lockdown. Maybe we take Improved Suppression. That seems to me better than the other skills we have access to. Guaranteed to hit. That's interesting. So how does that work? Activate to take a react. So it's like if you anticipate an enemy doing something, you activate this, and then you're guaranteed to stun them when they attack or when they move. Any target that moves or attacks within 6 tiles. Guaranteed to hit, but doesn't disorient. So wait, it says fire your reactionary arc thrower attack. So is the arc thrower like, is this an attack that's doing like 6 damage? Because the only arc thrower ability I have over here is stun. I wish I knew how this class worked. We're just gonna have to figure it out. I definitely want to take that. I guess we'll take coup de grace. Yeah, I still think, I don't know if that's worth 20 points though. The more I'm thinking about it, I might opt to. This would cost us 3 ability points. You get 42. We would need 3 more to take this. But lightning reflexes, because if I'm using improved suppression, I'm using it specifically to disorient and lock down that singular target. I don't know. Let's leave this one open. Let's not worry about this. I know these are the other skills I'm going to want. That has to be good enough for now. And I also have to think now about whether or not I want to bond a Recon and a Storm Rider, which I feel like the answer might be no, but I am not sure. Not sure about that yet. Good God. Okay, let's go to the bridge.
Commander, good to see you on your feet again.
Yep. Okay. Shiv unit is done. Give me my other Shiv unit. Also, before I forget, because a lot of time has passed, time to talk about what to do for facilities. It used to be, back in simpler times, that the first building you made was always the Guerrilla Tactics School. Or at least every stream I ever watched, that was what people did. And when I played on Legendary difficulty, back before I started playing Mod Jam, at least, that was what I did as well. The reason was, the Guerrilla Tactics School gives you access to combat upgrades, as well as the ability to train up your rookies into specific classes. There was a specific combat upgrade called Vulture that was absolutely essential because it more or less doubled. I don't think it was an exact doubling, but it massively increased the amount of loot that you got from loot drops. And because of that, it was absolutely critical to getting your early game economy going, right? Because in the early game, you're not getting supplies typically from regions. You're not going to typically set your rebels onto supply in the early game. What you're going to do is you're going to set them on intel to try to generate missions. And because of that, you're usually going to have very, very, very little income in the opening 2 or 3 months of the game until you liberate your first region. So Vulture was the way that you made your money. You used Vulture to pick up Illyrium cores and other high-value weapon mods from enemies you killed. And then you took those resources to the black market and sold them for a tidy profit. Vulture now is an automatic upgrade that you get at Force Level 3. So now, the main reason to go for the Guerrilla Tactics School early is not there. There are other reasons to go for the GTS, as we might call it, but that's not one of them anymore. So now there are cases to be made for other buildings, like the early resistance ring or the especially the early resistance and development building. The R&D building is kind of like a hybrid between a workshop and a laboratory, and also gives you the ability to do some unique research projects. But it's also a little more expensive than, say, the resistance ring, and the longer, like, you only have a limited amount of power in the early game, So we have 7 power to spare. This is 3, GTS is 2, R&D is 2. And if we go for anything else, with the exception of the power relay, which is, of course, generates power, anything else would also take up resources. So it's hard to say what the optimal early game strategy is. I think I've seen a lot of debate about people about like what the best starting thing is. Some people think that R&D is the best because once you get R&D up, you can pop a scientist in there, and that essentially gives you a free scientist in a way, right? Because putting them on a lab station doubles their research output. You can put an engineer on research and development, and then if we had research and development here, we could use the gremlins to excavate in 2 places at once. Personally, I'll explain what I'm going to do momentarily, but I think that this spot right here is where you pretty much always want the research and development slot. It doesn't have to go here, but the reason is from our position, when we get our first engineer, we're going to be digging here. When we get this excavated, we'll put research and development here so that we can have engineers excavating here, here, and here. So we can take as much advantage as possible of the extra quote unquote engineers we get from the gremlins. But also research and development, in my view, it's not something you need immediately. And the longer that you put off getting the resistance ring and the guerrilla tactics school, the more you're missing out on certain other things that I think are more important than what the R&D building provides. The R&D building does have a lot of like good features, and I did do one run where it was the first building I made, and there were some advantages to that, but not getting the GTS up early, it has some disadvantages as well. Here's how I'm thinking about this, since we're in the corner here. Probably the order of operations will go... there's a case to be made, since we started in a corner and not in the center, especially if we're going for the GTS, but I virtually always start with the resistance ring because I want to get access to covert operations as soon as possible and start running them to try to get additional rewards, or even to get an ambush mission, which in the early game, ambush missions actually help you because ambush missions give you opportunities to get additional loot and additional mission experience, because ambush missions are quick response. There's no infiltration time. So you pop in and you handle your business, and that's that. The reason why I don't want to delay GTS too long, though, and why it's probably the second thing we'll build, is that there is a GTS upgrade called Wet Work, which is the second most important, upgrade arguably in the entire game. Vulture used to be number 1, arguably still is, but now it's automatic. Wet Work doubles the experience points that you gain from getting kills, which means that if your goal is to level up your soldiers quickly so you have enough master sergeants in August and September to start taking out the Chosen, you need to get Wet Work as soon as possible. You do not want to put that off very long. And so if you're making the R&D building first, one of the 2 buildings I just mentioned, either the resistance ring or the GTS, is going to be the 3rd building you build. And that's just not how I roll. I really want the GTS and the resistance ring in some order to be the first 2 things that I have up and running, because I think their early game benefits are quite substantial. I also usually make the Proving Ground as my 3rd building, because the Proving Ground, which I would be inclined to put right here in this slot, allows me to start doing research projects that will improve my combat potential dramatically. And the first research project I will hopefully be able to do is to make a Spark unit. So that's the plan. I'm going to follow through on this. There's an additional advantage to building the resistance ring first also, which is that we still have 95 supplies, and that is enough supplies that without selling very much of our inventory, we should be able to purchase either a scientist or an engineer from the black market when we unlock it, which I definitely want to do. So having said all of that stuff, we are now finally in a position to go to the Geoscape and... Oh yeah, we do have to assign one more research thing. So the first research that you do should always be this. The reason why is that without this research completed, you cannot make contact with additional regions. And you want to make contact with an additional region as soon as possible. 100 intel is exactly how much we will need to make contact with a second region. Alright, now we're just going to scan. I wouldn't mind if we have somebody with... we got a couple of people with really high will. Yeah, we can definitely stick Joanna on here for a little while, until we, at least until we generate our opening missions. So Haven Advisors contribute to the speed at which you can get recruits. So having them on here isn't a bad thing. There are no faceless in your starting region by default. Okay, well that was quick. Probably have a pretty good timer on this. 8 days. And it's a jailbreak mission. 8-day timer is really good. Now we have to ask the question of whether we send 5 or we send 6. Because we actually have a timer where we could send 6 people. And that's probably what we're going to do. So... Jane Kelly has our highest hack, I think. So we're going to send her. And actually give her the combat knife so that we're definitely... She missed a 97% lightning slash in the last mission, so we're going to guard against that. Give her hunting shotgun. Here's a question. 3 alloys, 3 Illyrium. I'd really like to make some additional AP grenades, but that is not in the cards. With only 3 alloys to our name. That's not in the cards. So I think we're going to take... Jailbreak. The Raptor Commando will definitely be able to take quality sniper shots on a jailbreak mission. So we're going to take him. Who can you all bond with? You can actually bond with the Raptor Commando, which is pretty great. That's an interesting combination of a melee character and a squad. I don't know if that's ideal, though. Melee character with a squad sight character doesn't always work, because they're always going to be so far apart that they can't give each other teamwork moves. So, because one of the benefits of getting these bonds up to, level 1, 2, 3 is that you can exchange actions with the other character, right? You spend a teamwork move to transfer basically one action from one character to another. So I don't know if I necessarily want to do that. Sully is a 9.1. Okay. What about you? Rebecca Chambers. Wesker is a 9.0. Rebecca is a 9.2. There's a lot. You have a lot of options, Jane Kelly. There are a lot of people who seem to really like you. Yeah, I don't want a recon and a storm rider to be bonded, so I'm gonna put you on this mission. And then where was Eric Hayes? He was in here somewhere. You have an AP grenade. That's interesting. So it seems like did our rookies just like randomly, some of them got AP grenades? Like, do we actually have a stockpile of these? I mean, I will give you an AP grenade maybe. Although with 69 aim, I probably want you actually shooting. Okay, and then who are we gonna take? We're gonna take what, Sully and somebody else? Where is Sully? Sully only has 62 aim, so let's give him one of the AP grenades. And then who is the other? I don't know what Rebecca's class is, but... Or when I say that, what I mean is most of the characters in the character pool are not, like, they're not assigned as rookies. They're assigned as... they have some kind of class that they are guaranteed to roll based on how they're classified in the character pool. Rebecca has... Never mind. Rebecca has 74 aim. I don't want to... That is a high enough aim. I'm going to want to have control over what she becomes. Sully with 62 aim. Yeah, I don't... And 15 mobility. I can't remember what his class is, but I think it's either Hitman or Infantry, maybe? Either way, 69 aim would be fine. Let me... Who is somebody... Wesker has negative 10 dodge and 33 psi. That is a lot of psi. That's another thing I need to look at. I think that in the current... 33 is a lot. I think Jake Daniels, who the hell is this guy? This guy is not in my character pool. What in the world are you wearing, son? Can we... Oh, great. Well, that did not improve things. That, he has very average stats. Negative 5. What does it mean when you have negative 5 dodge? Does that mean that you're leaning into the bullets when they shoot at you? Is that what's happening here? All right, we're gonna really redo this. This is unacceptable nonsense. Everything about this character, from the disposition, the haircut, the equipment, we just gotta start over. We'll give him something more basic, maybe just like sure, whatever. Probably could have spent some time in updating my my cosmetic mods that I have available, but I also kind of don't care enough to do that. It says Central Strat Beard, but there is no beard there. Just looks like a survivalist with that. How about just nothing? We'll give you, like, maybe a bandana. Change your weapon to vaguely match your... it's not really a great match, but whatever. And you have... Yeah, I am not a fan of the happy-go-lucky. Go twitchy, and how about Akechi's voice? This guy is super average, like, in pretty much everything. All right, well, we're not taking that guy on the mission. I was looking at Wesker. When that guy caught my attention. Oh yeah, right. Negative 10 dodge, but 33 psi. We may want to preserve a couple of characters with high psionic. We have two 32s and a 33. Because I think that in TedJam, they have modified it back. There's one person, Ryuji, 9.0. Where are you, Ryuji? What do your stats look like? 73 aim. 73 aim. That is... Yeah, we have 73, 74, 75. Man, okay. Well, probably somebody with pretty good aim is going to get... Somebody with really good aim is probably gonna have to settle for a random promotion, because we're not gonna just turn all three of these characters into Deadeye snipers. All right, Jane Kelly, let's go back to Sully, Ren. Okay. Or, what am I doing? Where is he? 63 aim? 9 hack. Why do you have to have 9 hack? That might be the highest hack I have. It's, well, a lot of characters actually have 9 hack. Several. Toph would probably be the person I would pick to make a specialist or a hacker if we don't get any others. Oh wait, Princess Carolyn has 14 hack. What in the world is that? I don't think I've ever seen an initial hack stat that high. I didn't know it could go past 12. That's the highest I've ever seen. And 58 aim? And 16 mobility. You are the perfect. You're the perfect hacker, in fact. All right, I've kind of changed my mind on this because we're going to have some people we want to make hackers as well. Let's take Ryuji on this. We'll just see what he winds up being. Here's something I want to know. How many AP grenades do we actually... We have 2, and Joanna has 1. So I'm going to give you... Oh, wait, no, that's a terrible idea. You don't need an AP grenade because you have 73 aim. So I want you shooting your gun. You have terrible aim. Orange should be the other person with the AP grenade, because I'm not going to want him rushing in to every combat encounter. Okay. They're going to get in there in a week, and I like that. 3 squaddies, 3 rookies. Jane Kelly is our resident hacker with 44 hack, which isn't great, but it's good enough that she's going to have a chance at the hack reward at least. 1 medkit. 1 medkit's not enough. How about you also take a medkit, just in case? I've never had a Raptor Commando before, so I'm intrigued by that. Alright, now we're back to scanning. Another 8-day timer? I don't know if I've ever gotten back-to-back 8-day timers. So it's unfortunate that this is a revealed start mission, but you can't argue with an 8-day timer for an engineer. Okay, we have our shivs there. We are gonna... I definitely want to try out the electrician. And I definitely want a character with Phantom if I can get it. Jill does not have a lot of great options for bonds, so that's unfortunate. Definitely think the Frost Necromancer comes on this one, and I think our Scout, our Recon does, and I want to try out the Electrician, just see how that class functions. Now, I think I mentioned at some point in the past, one of the previous segments, I like to kind of build broad in the early game. And what I kind of alluded to with that is some people would approach this as, I'm going to take all my squaddies, I'm going to split them 4 and 2, 4 squaddies, 2 rookies on all these missions. And I'm obviously not doing that. I'm leaving, Jill and Joanna are not going to get any mission experience in this stretch. And that's obviously, some people just wouldn't do that. Some people would not approach these missions that way. The reason I'm doing that is I want to clear as many rookies in March out of rookie status as I reasonably can. Now, the fact that we have a bunch of high psionic rookies, and like I said, I think in TedJam they have reintroduced the psi class as its own thing. I've seen that noted in many places. I think that means that these, so Kasumi, 57 aim, but 32 psionic, and high dodge and high mobility. This to me is just screams psionic. Wesker is the same way. He has lower mobility, but the -10 dodge means I'm not going to want him on the front lines, taking damage, and he doesn't have great aim. So Kasumi and Wesker seem like the people who are earmarked for being psionics. Leon could be a psionic, but with that HP, I probably want him doing some fighting, on the front lines. He's going to be tankier. But anyway, aside from those 2 characters, the goal for March is to have every single rookie upgraded to squaddy. That's the goal, or training in the GTS to get to a specific class. That's the goal. So let's see what we have here. So Wesker and Kasumi you could actually bond with, but that's not really what we're going for here. Let's look for some people with relatively mediocre stats. Or mediocre. Average is really what I'm looking for there. That's the word I mean. There aren't that many characters that fit the bill. Jake Daniels was one of them. Let's pop him in here. I'm not going to worry too much about bonding the characters on this particular mission. You don't have a lot of options here. You've literally got Tim Burns, or no, Princess Carolyn and nobody else. So that's, yeah, and I'm not putting a character with 14 hack. I'm gonna choose what specialist or dragoon or whatever she becomes. She's probably gonna be a specialist. We're definitely not. We're definitely not taking a risk on giving her a random promotion where she doesn't get any abilities. What about Jensen and Ari? What are Ari's? What's her deal? What the hell is Ari? Ari has 13 mobility, 71. So she's kind of leaning Ranger maybe, or something like that. Ranger, Infantry, Gunner, Hunter. But she doesn't have high enough aim to where I would absolutely mandatorily put her into a sniper class. So sure. And then I think we're gonna go with Jensen as the other person for now. You got a hunter rifle equipped. How about no? We're not doing hunter rifle. I don't like the low mobility here. 10 mobility is a little bit sketchy. I'm gonna make you my other grenadier, I think. Oh, Joanna's got the other AP grenade. Hold on. The only advantage the old world assault rifle confers is that it has a built-in scope, if you're wondering what the benefit is. I wonder if we'll encounter... It's a revealed start mission, so we might not hit any drones that we can actually use this on, but whatever. Oh, why'd I do that? That was a mistake. Okay, fortunately, everyone will be equipped with exactly what they had before, so we're not losing very much time here. The only thing hurt is my pride. So we had Jensen, we had Ari, and we had Mr. Jake Daniels on there at the bottom. And they're getting in there in a little bit over a week. And this is a pretty good squad for the mission type, given the situation. Like, it's a real start fixed evac, which is never great, but we do have a dedicated scout, and we've got one character that can do guaranteed 3 to 5 damage to any enemy that we're gonna, except for a drone. We hit a drone, a little bit more complicated, but we have a counter to drones supposedly in our electrician. Okay, now that they're all doing their thing, we're going to switch over to recruiting with our other people, because there are only 2 missions to detect in this region at this point in the game. I'm going to swap over here.
I do not think I could have predicted this outcome, though it is intriguing.
Experimental weapons is inspired? Is that a joke? Okay. I would really, really like to make contact with the alien defectors, but that cannot be what we do right now, because we need to use that 100 intel to get access to a second region as soon as possible. So that is just not doable. We are going to do mod weapons, or modular weapons. You want my reflex stock, and you will pay me $20? Yes. Yes, please. Or 20 supplies, but it's basically just money. So hyperreactive pupils is not a terrible combat implant, but it requires you to miss a shot before it does anything. Not the worst thing, but I'm not sure I'm going to hold on to it. Now we are getting an engineer. Oh, wow, we have a hijacker available right out of the gate for purchase. So like I said, we're getting an engineer from a mission right now. So I am going to buy a scientist. That's going to bankrupt me, but it is worth it. All the more reason, though, that we are going to sell this. And probably we will be back here after these first 2 missions to sell some other stuff. But for now, that's all we're going to do. Alright. They're at 2 days. So we can make contact 6? 6? What in the world? Okay, this is actually kind of bad. We don't want to go here because that's a new continent. I don't think I want to do that right out of the gate. Do we want to do New Arctic? Do we want to do West Asia? I don't know which one is better. We need to make... So, let's think this through. If we do New Arctic, the only region that we're gaining access to is the Western United States, which we already have access to. That, at face value, doesn't seem like a good plan. Feels to me like it would be better to give ourselves more contact options, right? Because if we go here, now we're getting access to Europe and this region of Asia that we're not connected to. I think that's the better play. Okay, so somebody was just recruited here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch these folks back to Intel, and we're going to fly back here. Although we could wait. How many hours? 27 hours. The thing is, as soon as we launch that first mission, I want to be back over here scanning to detect the next mission. Let's go ahead and put you on recruiting for 1 second here. We're going to do that. I would love it if these two were synced up a little bit better. Like, I wish that I could wait a day and 13 hours. I guess in theory I could. I could wait to see if you guys get to vulnerable. It's 21 hours. Oh, that's actually perfect, isn't it? We can scan here and make contact. I guess we have to do... Oh, yeah, we bought a scientist. That's why that finished so quickly. Yeah, I guess we have to do alien biotech. There's nothing else that makes sense to do. Resistance ring in 3 days. All right, I think I'm gonna go ahead and scan and finish this.
Regional contact located.
Okay. Strength 3. It's not great to have a strength 3, but I don't think you can get a retaliation until... I don't think you can get a retaliation until force level 3. I'm not 100% on that, but I don't think you can. So we're going to go ahead and switch these. Okay. We're not doing that yet. We're doing this mission. And then we'll handle that when we come back. So I know this has been a lot of like setup and discussion and time on the Geoscape, but I need to take a break, get a drink, maybe a sandwich. Then I'll come back and record our first like non-gatecrasher mission of the campaign, which is going to be a jailbreak where we're going to be up against 8 enemies. This should be a pretty easy mission given that we have 6 soldiers. But they're also, half of them are rookies who are liable to miss shots and do other stupid things. So I'll see y'all next time, and maybe we'll double up next time and we'll do both the missions back to back, given that I did not do any mission in this particular segment. But I'll see y'all then.